never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
Where? When? Who?
What's up, nerd family? Welcome once again to the Poindexter Lounge. My name is Enosh, aka Enosh Fett. I've been playing with the intro a little bit, and that lasted a little bit longer than I was anticipating. Hey, it is good to have you with me in the lounge today. Today is another fun day because we're back. We're talking about Star Wars, and we are glad that you are here. Look, if this is your first time to the lounge, just know that the Poindexter Lounge is a place for nerds. It's a place where you and me and my friends can get together and talk about the things that we love. Things like TV shows, movies, games, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books, superheroes, toys, Star Wars. Yes, all the Star Wars, not just some of the Star Wars, not just the Star Wars that you like or I like or somebody else likes, but we're willing to talk about all the Star Wars. That's right. We get into the nitty gritty here. We're willing to talk about the holiday special, the Ewok movies. We'll talk about droids if we have to. We'll do all of it because it's all Star Wars. And that's just fine. And if those are things that get you going, if those are things that get you excited, then please hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell because we want you here. Thanks, guys, for being here. We are gonna spare no time today because today we are talking about Star Wars Episode 2. That's right. And it's not just me. It's not just me here today. Of course, you all know we've got an all-star cast for this. A couple of great guys who know Star Wars, love Star Wars, and we're going to dissect Episode 2. The good, the bad, the ugly, anything and everything. And of course, we want your opinions in the chat. First of all, I'd like to bring in, once again, the Gold Man.
Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to talk some Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones, man. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wait, that's like a whole topic of itself, man. It's just the title alone. But before we do that, let us bring in the nerdy man himself. That's right. That's Dawson to you and me. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dawson, nerdy in many ways.
What's up,
guys? How's it going, Dawson?
It's going good. It's good to be here. Good to be back in the lounge.
Absolutely. It's always good to have you guys in the lounge, man. I'll tell you what, you guys are fantastic. And I am so glad. You're full of pizza.
Oh yeah.
My stomach's empty. Probably should have eaten.
Had a bunch of
Jeez, I haven't eaten all day. I'm sitting here like trying to survive on a rock star here, man. Like, jeez.
Now my wife, she came home and she was like, you know what? Let's order some Domino's. I was like, okay. And she's like, okay, you have to go pick it up. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Let me go do that. But we had some good pizza, some nice big sausage pizza.
Sometimes that's a deal breaker.
Yeah. Oh yeah, with the sausage pizza. Yeah, heck yeah. Hey, I do have to say, like right off the bat, first of all, thank you to all of our members here at the channel. You guys are awesome. Nerdy, you're on that list, so thank you, man.
Si,
thank
senor.
you personally. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Let me just say, I want to thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. And we may not have golden girls, but we do have the gold man.
Good enough.
So there you go. Good enough, right? And also, hey, thank you to all of our Patreons. I have not had a chance today to actually put a new thing together, but we have a new patron. That's right. Corey Bronco Flores. Some people may know him as Commander Fox 27, but Corey Bronco Flores, you will be on this list. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for becoming a Patreon supporter. We love you guys all. And when you become a member or whatever, you get to do cool stuff like this. You get to throw up the, oh yeah, or the I Stand with Ray Fisher stuff, and we need a Star Wars one. I actually just realized I don't think I have a Star Wars one, but I've got, like Super Punch.
For shame.
You can have my son, they only give you so many. We got to get more members. Like they only give you so many per members, right? So you got to get like a couple of more. So I've used them all. I've used them all up. We're all done. So
next time you can get one, you should get one of Claude.
Oh, there you go. There you go. But that'd make a lot of people happy.
It'd make me happy.
There you go. So
he'd become a member.
There you go. You become a member. I'll make a special one just for you. It'll say Gold Man on it. It'll just be like for Gold Man right there. I also, guys, before we jump in, I do want to thank everybody. Guess what? We have reached our initial goal for our brick for Zack Snyder. And so thank you to Tony for last night putting us over the edge, over the hump, as it were, to raise this money for Zack Snyder, to put this brick in at the Superman Museum. And, you know, last night I had Nana on from the Nerd Queens. We had a great discussion. We were talking, and when I got done, we were talking about this. And, you know, she was telling me, she's like, hey, I want to make sure that Zack knows about this. She goes, I'm going to make sure that Zack knows about this. So who knows what that means. But she did bring up an interesting point. She said, you know, when they did, I should say, you know, fundraisers and stuff like that. And, you know, when they were trying to put up billboards and stuff like that for the Snyder Cut and stuff, they would try to raise double so that they could give that amount to suicide prevention. And so I don't know how much we'll raise above this, but you know what? We're going to keep this going until the 17th. Because they gave me this idea, keep this going to the 17th, and whatever money comes in, I said from the very beginning, whatever comes in above the cost of actually putting in the brick, we're going to give to suicide prevention. So, hey, down in the description is the link to the GoFundMe and all that stuff. So if you do that, all that will go there. So nice. So let's make it a nice special time. All right. So tonight, guys, we are going where a lot of people don't go. You know how many, just this week alone, I think I have seen 5 videos in my feed that went up this week, either talking about how they were breaking down the Star Wars episodes, you know, or, you know, dissecting Star Wars. And it seems like every time I see that, I just know what I'm going to get. You know what I mean? I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get some negative take, you know, I'm going to get some negative spin on it, you know, or whatever, or how they don't like this film or they don't like that film. And the
cinematography just wasn't that good. It wasn't creative.
I know, you know, Ryan and his takes. No, but you know, so that's what we get so much. And I really enjoyed our last talk about episode 1 and being fair with it, talking about it, but also just talking about it as Star Wars fans. And so that's what we're doing tonight, guys. And so I thank you guys for joining me once again for this discussion. And yeah. Episode 2. I have watched it actually 2.5 times in the last week and a half.
Wow. I just watched it and finished it just before this show. So
I watched it maybe 2 months ago, a month ago.
Okay.
But these movies are all fresh in my mind. I don't need to rewatch them to know what's going on.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you guys, hey, you guys in the comments, keep the conversation going, and we'll definitely address some of your comments and you know what you guys think of this film as well. All right, guys. So I guess I would just start off and say, like, Attack of the Clones, man. Where I know you guys are a little younger than me. So what was your first experience with Attack of the Clones? Say Goldman, what was your first experience with Attack of the Clones?
I think I mentioned this when we talked about The Phantom Menace, but my earliest Star Wars memory was I was sitting down with my mom and we had the 5 VHS tapes, the original trilogy, episode 1 and 2, and she had to explain to me why there was no episode 3 because it was before 2005. So Attack of the Clones was the newest film, and for the longest time, Attack of the Clones was my favorite. When I was very young, even when Revenge of the Sith came out, Attack of the Clones was my favorite. Just Geonosis, I could watch that over and over and over again. I wanted to get all the Legos of all the Jedi. I remember going to a store and seeing like a Lego Kit Fisto, and it just freaked me out. I was like, I need that so bad. Like all the other Jedi, you know, seeing Jango Fett. I actually will get to Jango Fett later. But it was just Attack of the Clones will always hold a special place in my heart because of when I was younger, how much I love that film. Now that I'm older, I start to realize the faults with the film. For the longest time, it was my least favorite Star Wars film by far.
Man, you went to the complete opposite side of the spectrum.
I know, yeah. That's
my favorite. I hate
it. So I went from here to here, and now I'm somewhere here.
Kind of like you with basketball. They're nerdy.
Not quite accurate, but okay.
And then I remember recently, maybe like within the past year, I rewatched it again, and for whatever reason, there's still big problems with it that I have, but a lot of the Anakin and Padme scenes, you know, those are the scenes that are the most criticized because the dialogue's not the best and the acting's not the best. But there's a good portion of their relationship. I would say it's the part where they're on Tatooine and a little bit when they're on Geonosis. Well, I genuinely found myself really enjoying it. Like the parts where Anakin and Padme are on Tatooine, when Anakin goes to rescue his mom and she dies and he takes his anger out on the Tusken Raiders. I really felt that. And then the scene afterwards where he's with Padme, it's a meme scene now where he's like, I killed not just the men, but the women and the children too. But for me, like, yeah, I know it's a meme, but that scene as a whole, while that dialogue's a little cheesy, it still hits me because I understand what Anakin is going through. I didn't kill a bunch of people, but I understand.
You sure?
Yes, I am. I've never killed a human being in my life.
Even after.
Notice how he said human being and not Tusken Raider.
No, you sure, Goldman. Even after you released your video of why Rey was not a Mary Sue, you didn't kill anybody after that.
No, I'll be honest. I as a lot of the comments may have been mean, but they were fun. Yeah. I got some good laughs out of the creativity of the insults that I got. And so I actually did enjoy that. But with Attack of the Clones, yes, I did not kill anyone, but I do somewhat understand. I empathize with Anakin during that scene and seeing the pain of losing his mother. So that part of the movie I just really love. I genuinely think it's some of the best Star Wars there is. And with the rest of the movie, there's some okay parts. I find some of the politics a little more interesting this time around because they're not just discussing taxes. They're talking about the beginnings of the war. Maybe it's recency bias with the Clone Wars, but it makes me appreciate Attack of the Clones a little bit more. Seeing these Jedi who are nameless in the movies, but you get a little more depth on them in the shows. I really appreciate that. The Battle of Geonosis, while it's not my favorite, it's actually probably my least favorite battle. It's still nice. I get to see some Phase 1 clones against the OG battle droids. It's just some nice Star Wars action. And so, as I said earlier, I used to love the film. Then I really disliked the film. So now I'm a little more towards the middle. I'd say I still dislike it for the most part, but there are definitely a lot of things I appreciate about this film now.
Yeah,
nice.
That's a great synopsis. I love that, man. Hello to Benson's.
Hey.
They're over there in the UK. What's up? He says, hey, Nash, your insomniac friend from the UK. I always feel I love talking to people over the UK. Me and Nana were talking yesterday, and she's in the UK, and all of a sudden she's like, we're like talking, having a conversation, and all of a sudden she says, oh, I gotta go. I gotta talk to somebody. It's 1 a.m. I'm like, all right, hey, no problem. We'll talk later. He says here, I always feel this trilogy is misunderstood. I see them more as political dramas. Best wishes, Mark. That's a great comment, Mark. Thank you so much. So Dawson, you were like minus negative what when this movie came out?
No. I actually because this film came out in 2002, 2003?
2002, yeah.
2002. Okay, so I was 5. And 2002.
I was married. I was in my first home. I was starting off my young life. Wow.
I was 3.5.
Wow, look at you guys. You guys making me feel so old over here. Like I don't so old do I look, huh? I don't think not I look old as I do.
But this movie, I actually saw this in theaters when I was 5. I remember sitting down with my dad watching it because my dad, like a lot of Star Wars fans out there, has seen every single Star Wars film in theaters. And before the Force Awakens, before The Last Jedi, I think my dad had seen every single Star Wars film opening weekend. And so he brought us all to the theaters. And, there's a lot of things I loved about the movie. That's the movie that really got me interested in Anakin Skywalker as a young kid. Because Anakin Skywalker is my hero as a young, tiny kid. I also loved Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor. This movie really hooked me into Star Wars, along with, of course, all the VHS tapes of the original trilogy that we had, and really got me into it because, again, I saw this is going to happen. This is going to come to fruition. And I remember when they came out with a bonus feature where they talked about the whole story of Star Wars before Episode 3 came out. And it's all R2-D2 and C-3PO talking about the story, and then just oh, yes, and then, this part of time I don't have much memory about because they hadn't come out with the movie, and so I didn't want to talk about it. It's but then after that, this happened. And so it was always a fun one. I remember it was one of the few movies that had a scene that made me jump up and scream and jump super excited.
Oh, wow.
At a moment. And we'll get to that in a little bit, but let's just say it was due to a little green man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was everybody in the theater just jumping up and down. But I remember that being a very fun movie theater experience, and loving a lot of stuff about the movie. Growing up now, like kind of what Goldman said. Growing up now, there's a lot of things about it that definitely have some issues. But like just watching it just now, there's still some things that I found enjoyable, some things that were redeemable to a certain extent. And I mean, it's Star Wars, and I just have a fun time watching it. So again, in the theaters, it was really awesome. My mic seems low.
Yeah, sure. Your mic seems. I thought so too.
Can you guys hear me better now?
Oh, that's much better. Yes, much
Woo!
better.
All right.
Much better. All right. Now we're playing with fire.
Giggity.
With fire. With fire. All right. Fire. Yeah. So my experience is quite different with episode 2. So by the time episode 2 came out, episode 2 was like the first time that I was really into collecting. When the movies came out, because when episode 1 came out, I think I shared before, like I didn't really start collecting. My cousin went to the midnight, thing at Toys R Us and asked me, do you want me to get you anything? And I was like, I don't know, like maybe. And then he says, well, how about a Darth Maul? And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, give me a Darth Maul. And so he got me a Darth Maul, and that's it, man. That was it. Like because once I saw the movie, then I had to get an Obi-Wan and a Qui-Gon to be fighting Darth Maul, and so I put those up on my shelf and I had those there. And it took me a long time to open up that Darth Maul. Because everybody was like, oh, it's gonna be worth something. The Darth Maul is gonna be worth oh my gosh, there ain't an episode 1 toy that's worth anything, except for the nostalgia and the love of the toys, right, which is why I collect anyways. So I always laugh when I see people with like these big, somebody will pull out a tub and they're like, oh yeah, I got all these old vintage Star Wars stuff. And I'm like, vintage? Like episode 1? Like what the hell? Really? Okay. So, but in those 3 years, I had started collecting. So by then I had all the episode 1 stuff. I had started going back and getting some of the Power of the Force action figures and stuff. And so I was fully ready for episode 2. Like, and a lot of my collection is episode 2, which is kind of funny because I would not have planned it that way, but so much stuff came out for episode 2. There were so many different kinds of toys that came out for episode 2. And they just kept coming, and there was just more and more and more. And
that's also the time where I got into like collecting Star Wars figures too. I had all those like 4-inch tall ones, all the lightsabers, all the Jedi and droids and stuff. Like, that's when toys really took off with the new Star Wars. Yep.
And so from that aspect, I was really ready for episode 2 to come out from the toy aspect of it. But then I remember going to see the movie, and by this time, I had been somewhat disappointed with episode 1, just because the normal stuff, just that we talked about, it's just that it was a weird thing. I don't think that movie, even if that movie had been just amazingly awesome, I think that people still would have had flaws with it just because it wasn't what we expected. And I think we haven't even, one day when we get to the sequels, I think we'll probably say a lot of those same things. And Goldman, I know that you have even like delved into that heavily. And it's one of the reasons why I love your content. And by the way, guys, if you have not subscribed to Goldman, well, wait till this video's done. Like, unless you open up another window, go to Goldman,
another device,
do something. Don't go away from the video, but go to his channel and check out Goldman's stuff, because man, your stuff is just right on when it comes to that stuff. And so I went into episode 2 very kind of white gloves, cautious, not knowing what it was going to be. And from a visual standpoint, I loved it. But I remember when I saw the first trailer, it came out, you had to download it. I was at work. I worked third shift at Kinko's at the time. And it was I was really glad because it was a very light work night, because some nights we just had nothing to do sometimes. And so I set this thing to download, and it took like 3 hours to download. It's like this little bit. And even then it was like all, pixelated. It looked like nerdy looks like right now.
Thank heaven above for YouTube.
Right. And so but you had to download it. You couldn't, there wasn't a place like YouTube where you could just go watch it. You had to download it. And so I remember downloading this thing and then playing it, and it felt like Star Wars to me. It felt like that camaraderie between Padme, Anakin, and Obi-Wan reminded me of the original trilogy a little bit with Han, Luke, and Leia. And like when Obi-Wan, when they're in Geonosis, and Obi-Wan makes the comment to Anakin and says, something like, oh, you came, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, yeah, but we're here for you or whatever. And he's just like, oh, good job. And I just,
good job.
It made me smile. It made me laugh. It got me excited. And then I saw the movie. Right. And so I was very excited for the movie to come out, obviously. And I enjoyed all of the things. And I really thought, okay, episode 1 was just going to be that movie, that it was what it was. And now we were getting into the nitty gritty. Anakin was going to be older. And, there was a lot of talk back then about the casting of Hayden Christensen. And because for a while they were really talking about Mr. Titanic himself, Leonardo DiCaprio, which I wonder now, looking back, could Leonardo have like brought something to that role, or is it George himself? With his dialogue, is it really the dialogue, or is it how it's delivered? So let's just go right after the main thing there. Like, what did you guys think of Hayden Christensen in this movie?
So you bring up a good point about, is it dialogue or is it acting? After just watching it, I think it's a combination of both. Again, growing up, Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker was my hero. One of my favorite characters of all time is Anakin from Episode 3. Just because of the nostalgia as a kid and everything like that. But yes, there are lines that are just like the whole phrase where he says, "You're in my very soul, tormenting me." He's talking to Padme, where she's wearing like a push-up dress.
I love you say that. Like Goldman is just like, yeah. So like, I remember that line.
And lines like that, and also just facial expressions like
the push-up dress
sometimes. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like,
the way it comes into that scene, the way it just like drops you in that scene, like I'm a dominatrix.
No wonder Anakin confessed his love for her.
Right?
Yeah, like they're sitting in a dark lit room with a fireplace, and she's wearing a push-up dress, like looking like, like that, and then Anakin's just like, I love you. And it's like, well, okay, maybe it's just his hormones getting in the way because he's a Jedi and he's not allowed to be around women. So it's probably what it was.
Why are they sitting there? If she doesn't like him, if she's like fighting it, like, I don't know. That's a weird place to be.
That's the thing. She said, like,
a weird setup, right?
I don't want to be in a relationship with you, but
let me wear the sexiest thing that I possibly can.
That's so
in
frustrating.
in the most seductive and romantic setting that we could possibly be in, sitting here just quietly.
Yeah, so
tormenting my very soul.
That's the main thing about this movie that just drives me up a wall. But
so tell me, Dawson, when you used that line on your wife when you were first dating, how did that go over exactly?
Let's just say
it didn't tormenting my very soul.
It didn't go over at all because I did not use those words. But yeah,
I'm gonna try that.
But going back to my main point, I think it's a little bit of both. I think Hayden Christensen did an okay job, but there was lines in there that, George Lucas is not a romantic line writer. He's not a romantic script writer. It's just obvious. That's not his skill set. So I just think it's a little bit of both. I still love Hayden Christensen. I really wish they would have brought him back for Rise of Skywalker, but that's a whole other conversation. But, oh yeah, there's nothing more romantic than floating fruit. Oh my gosh.
You know what? So that scene actually really bugged me when I first saw it. I was just like, what the heck? Actually, rewatching it actually this last couple of weeks, like it really didn't. Like I was just like, yeah, they're having fun.
You know what's funny?
Like, he's using the Force to try to impress a girl, right?
You know what's funny is I literally just watched it and I saw the scene. And years before, I thought what they did is they like CGI'd the apple or pear, whatever it was, and until like it was on her fork, and then they cut to her having it on her fork. But then she takes a bite out of it, and the bite looks so bad. Yeah, the bite looks like it's CGI. I think the pear is a CGI pear the entire time. Mm-hmm. I don't think they bothered with a cut. It's like it like almost chomps out before.
Wait, hold on. Was it in the movie? It was CGI.
Yeah.
It was in the movie, right? So it was CGI. Like
that's fair.
Padme's dress was probably CGI. George Lucas.
That's why
George
Anakin couldn't concentrate.
Ooh, hey now, George. I mean, let's be honest. George at this point is like running rampant, like just kind of doing whatever he wants to do, right? I mean,
I will say
he's got the money. He funded the whole thing himself. He doesn't need
Yeah.
any help. Nobody can even tell him what to do because the studios are just like, we're just like lining up saying, "Hey, we'll do whatever you want, George. Just give us more Star Wars."
Exactly.
And so, yeah.
The one conversation that I think is actually somewhat okay between Anakin and Padme, besides the Tatooine stuff like Goldman mentioned, is the scene they have on Naboo when they're sitting in the grass, and it's kind of cheesy, but basically it talks about how Anakin like kind of favors the idea of fascism. Basically, it kind of jokes about it.
Yeah.
But it foreshadows, of course, what he becomes as like a Dark Lord of the Sith, where he overrules everything and everybody's under his thumb. And so I thought that was kind of meaningful, kind of nice foreshadowing. Still wasn't perfect, but I mean, it had some substance to it.
Yeah. So, for me, Hayden Christensen is just, man. So for me, I agree that it's equal parts, probably the dialogue that was written for him and then his acting ability, because honestly, have you watched Hayden Christensen in anything else?
Looper.
No.
So I have. So he was in a movie called Glass House. And I remember going to see that movie, thinking to myself, okay, this is going to be the movie that tells me what the issue was. And I watched that movie and I went, yeah, Hayden just wasn't that good. And then I saw him. He was in a faith-based film where like he supposedly died and went to heaven or whatever, and he was trying to explain it. And that one wasn't so bad, but it was a low budget kind of faith-based film. So it's like you judge those for what they are, right?
Yeah.
And so so that's kind of how I felt about it.
And same with Looper. Looper wasn't bad, and Hayden Christensen didn't do bad in it, but he wasn't like anything to write home about,
Yeah, and I did not see what was that other movie that he was that where
like a mob movie, like gangster movie.
No, there was like there was like some sci-fi movie. It wasn't Looper. It was another one like Jumper. Was it Jumper? It was Jumper. Yeah, it was something like that where like he could jump like he could jump like teleport.
Isn't that Looper?
Yeah. No. I don't think he was in Looper.
Oh, Jumper.
Yeah, it was Jumper.
Yeah, sorry,
you're
sorry.
right.
Yeah. It had an at the end of it. So.
Yeah, no, yeah. Looper is what's his name from Batman from The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, Joseph
right,
Gordon-Levitt.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
The Bruce Willis
isn't that one of Rian Johnson's movies?
Yeah,
yes.
it is.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep. So, yep. Scotty's got us here. Hayden wasn't in Looper. Thank you.
Right,
he was in Jumper. And I remember seeing Jumper. So I did see Jumper, actually, and now that I remember, because he's able to jump all across and stuff. And so he just, that's why he didn't become a big star.
Right.
Let's just be honest. He wasn't that great of an actor. But obviously George Lucas saw something in him that he wanted for that role, which is questionable, but it is what we have, right? And so I agree with you guys. There are some scenes where it just feels like his acting, you can tell he's really trying. He settles down more in episode 3, I think.
Right.
Definitely.
And he's more comfortable. You could tell in that movie, it's almost like he felt the pressure. It's like, so when he exudes an emotion, it's a lot of emotion. Like when he gets mad at the sand people and his mouth just kind of, all just makes a contortion and stuff. And it's just like, it just looks a little weird, right? Yeah, exactly. But it's interesting because like, if you watch the other material with Anakin, like the Clone Wars, stuff like that, the Clone Wars, a lot of people have talked about how the Clone Wars kind of saved the role of young Anakin Skywalker for a lot of people. And it made them look at Hayden Christensen's version a little bit better for people, because although it's a little tough on its own, if you add in the Clone Wars stuff where you see a better representation really of Anakin, and I'm assuming both of you guys have watched Clone Wars.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you guys know what I'm talking about. It's just he's a lot more confident. He's just a lot more what you would expect Anakin Skywalker to be. So that's just kind of my take on Hayden at that point.
One thing I would definitely agree with you on is that in Revenge of the Sith, Hayden Christensen is significantly better. Something about Attack of the Clones, almost every line that he has sounds like he's whining.
Yeah.
He's just like, what's my favorite conversation? It was the one where he's talking about Obi-Wan with Padme. He's like, he's overly critical. He never listens. He doesn't understand. It's not fair. Like every time. So I think that was a big reason why a lot of people maybe disliked Anakin, is because it's kind of hard to take him seriously when he's kind of a whiner. He doesn't whine as much in Revenge of the Sith, and definitely not in Clone Wars. In Clone Wars, Anakin is just like a man's man. He's like this really, his voice is deeper. He's much more masculine. And I remember I watched, I think it was sometime back in May or June, I watched one of those supercut Revenge of the Siths with the Clone Wars, like with the Siege of Mandalore. And it's, to me at least, it's jarring going from the beginning with Matt Lanter's Anakin Skywalker to Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker. God, that name's hard to say fast.
I know. I did the same thing. Yeah.
Hayden Christensen.
And you can tell that Revenge of the Sith Anakin is much more beloved by the fans, because when they began the Clone Wars, even though it takes place significantly closer to Attack of the Clones than Revenge of the Sith, in that Clone Wars movie, that's like Revenge of the Sith Anakin. Has the darker attire, he has the longer hair, he doesn't have the Padawan braid anymore. Right. So yeah, I feel like when people think of Anakin Skywalker, you don't think of Attack of the Clones Anakin, which is either unfortunate or not, but I think it's for the best. I mean, going back to the is it George Lucas or Hayden Christensen? I really do think it's both. I mean, I can't say about Hayden Christensen's other acting because I haven't seen any of his other movies, but George Lucas's dialogue at times is just dreadful. Like and maybe it's his direction too. I think one of the creepiest scenes in the movie it's in the beginning when Padme's packing. She's talking about the Military Creation Act, and Anakin just like walks up and he's like staring at her, and she's like, "Stop looking at me like that." She's like, "Why not?"
Sorry, my lady.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "It makes me feel uncomfortable." It's just,
dude, watching it twice this week, like it was like. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, and then she marries him 2 hours later. It's just,
I know, like what the heck?
I think the relationship would have gotten a lot better if they didn't get married. I mean, they didn't really need to get married, right? They could have just had their romance. It's secret anyway. So the marriage is definitely weird, no matter what way you look at it. And then throughout the movie, Anakin's complaining. He's kind of rude to her. Like we're on the Naboo. She refers to Anakin as a Padawan, and he's like, "Excuse me, and she basically like tells him off. Yeah. And then she's like, right before they go to the Geonosis pit, she's like, "I love you," and Anakin's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what?"
Yeah, we're all like, well, hold on. It's like a record scratch. What?
Yeah, so, and then there's the classic I don't like sand line. It's just really weird.
And then she's wearing like a super low cut dress in the back, like,
and Anakin's like staring at her back,
just strokes her back, like it's so smooth.
Well, like, the way that he the way that he goes into that whole discussion with her when she's packing, the way that he literally transfers from having a conversation with her about like where they're going, what they're doing, the fact that she's packing and stuff, and just immediately devolves right into Obi-Wan, right? And it's just like, no, he's a good master and everything, but he's overly critical. He's always never does anything for me. He never likes me. It's like, what the heck, man? Chill, dude. Like, I mean, like if you were having a conversation,
Anakin would love Twitter.
Anakin, yes.
He'd be venting all the time.
Oh my gosh.
My master sucks. #, fire him.
I actually did this over the summer. So as a college student, we try to find the best ways to get drunk, right? So we watched we watched Attack of the Clones, and we had to finish a drink every time Padme changed her outfit.
Oh,
we did not make it halfway through the movie.
Oh my gosh.
Because she wears, the classic white outfit for like most of the second half. So the first half of the movie is just dress after dress after dress after dress. And so that's, if you want to get really hammered, you should try doing that.
I think I'm okay, but it sounds like you had a good time.
Wow.
You did have a good time.
That's interesting. That is really interesting because that white outfit. Do you guys? Now you guys are quite young, but do you guys know where that white outfit actually comes from? So I don't know. I'd have to bring it up. Do you guys know who Aaron Gray is?
I don't think so.
Vaguely familiar.
Okay, so first of all, I will just tell you, Aaron Gray. Was my buddy Mike. She was his absolute just. I'm gonna pull up a picture here for you guys. Growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, Aaron Gray was on Buck Rogers. Okay. And she was also on Silver Spoons. Okay. And so
Cats in the Cradle.
Oh, very funny. I get what you did there. I get what you did there. You're very funny.
Very funny.
I'm trying to find the exact costume because what they did was they literally copied one of her costumes from the show. Which is really interesting, and I've seen the side by side comparison. I didn't think about it before we went into this, but I'll show you guys what Aaron Gray looks like. I've met Aaron Gray. She, and what I love about Aaron Gray is she's still beautiful to this day. She's one of those people that did not like mess herself up with plastic surgery or anything like that. But my buddy Mike, I met her at a Comic-Con. And I got to shake her hand, got to say hi to her and everything. And I told her, I said, I am not going to wash this hand. And she kind of looked at me funny. And I said, well, pretty much because until I see my friend Mike again. I said, because as soon as I see my friend Mike, I'm going to be like, hey, Mike, guess what? This is the hand that touched Aaron Gray. And I did. I obviously I watched it, before that. But I'm trying to find. I found an outfit that's similar, but this is not the outfit. But she wore a lot of costumes that were very similar to that white outfit that Padme wears. And here I'm going to bring this up so you guys can kind of see it. I mean, this is an example, but it's not the outfit.
Oh, okay.
But this one's very similar, but it's not the outfit. So, but she did have a lot of outfit, but there's one outfit that I wish I had spent some time beforehand, been able to, and thought about it beforehand because I didn't think about it. But it's interesting because that's where they got that costume from. And you're right. She changes so many times that, it's interesting. Who I really enjoy in this film though? This is where Ewan McGregor really steps up.
Especially in Camino when he's just like, we've been expecting you. He's like, oh, cool. And he's like, your master Cypher Diaz is like, oh yes, my master Cypher Diaz. Yes. Cool. It's like, you want to see the army? He's like, yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yep. And like totally plays along. Yeah.
It's great. I love you, McGregor. He's easily the best part of the prequel trilogy by far.
Oh, for sure. For me. Yeah. Yeah. For me, for sure.
One aspect of the Camino part that I really liked is Jango Fett. There's a lot of, it's funny because Boba Fett's the popular one. And I think I said this recently on some podcasts, but I think Jango Fett is a much more interesting character than Boba Fett is. I thought at first the whole connection between Boba Fett and Jango Fett, like, oh, Boba Fett's just a clone. It was a little weird, but I think Jango Fett is much more interesting. He's a bounty hunter. He's getting paid to be this template for all the clones. It adds a lot more depth, and especially when you go into a lot of the expanded material, it just makes Jango Fett a lot more fleshed out than I think Boba Fett is currently. I mean, with the Mandalorian, we can see how that goes. But it's so cool how I think they made a better version of Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones than,
or at least a more utilized version, right?
Yeah, because Boba Fett, he is basically useless. But Jango Fett really does play a significant role. And I always like the blue silver better than the green maroon. It's like a little maroon. Yeah. I always like that armor significantly more. With Obi-Wan, I think he's okay in this film. For me, Obi-Wan really shines in Revenge of the Sith. There we go. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And
I think I had that one. I had that one before when I was a kid. Yeah, I had that one.
You know what's funny? When for the longest time when I was younger, when Jango Fett gets decapitated, Like he gets part of his jetpack cut off too.
Yeah.
Like the rocket part. And for the longest time, I thought like that top part of his jetpack was his neck. I was like, dude, why is his neck so thin? And then I was like, oh, it's just the jetpack. And then, yeah. But I actually do like Jango Fett a decent amount in this movie. It's unfortunate that he died, but
yeah, and I like the
served his
fight
role.
scene, and I like the fight scene between him and Obi-Wan on Kamino, where he utilizes like his rocket, he utilizes wires, all the things we see the Mandalorian using in the show right now. And he has like, I call it a Batman gauntlet that helps him not fall off the side of Kamino, basically. He utilizes. But he's very, very cool. He has like, of course, they used rubber for the silver parts in his chest, and it kind of folds when he like bends over, which is kind of an odd thing. But I do like his character. I like the actor they cast for Jango. I think he has a great voice to utilize for Jango and Boba. He has, I don't know, I just liked how he was designed, how he had like all these scars and stuff like a bounty hunter would. I just think that Jango Fett was a really well done part of this movie.
Now see, I gotta going back to Obi-Wan, because I do want to talk about Jango, but like Obi-Wan, like the bar scene when they're on Coruscant and they're going after Zam Wessel, and that bar scene is really interesting because it's that thing that George likes to do where he likes to harken back to stuff that he's already done,
right?
And so you have that moment where, you know, she's sneaking up on Obi-Wan. And so you kind of have this moment where he pulls out his lightsaber, and I'm still really not sure what he did to her.
Cut off her hand.
Did he?
So.
Because you don't really see that. Because like in the movie, it looks like he just hits the gun.
Well, I think he might have at least gotten her fingers. But there's one thing before that, though, that I love about that scene. He goes to the bar and goes like, hey, you want to buy some death sticks? You don't want to sell me death sticks. I don't want to sell you death sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life? I want to go home and rethink my life. That part cracked me up as a kid in the theater. Just because, like, again, that's another callback of him using a Jedi mind trick. And we quoted that for years in my family.
You know what? I forgot the name of that Death Sticks guy, but apparently it's just a really stupid name. I forgot what it was. I'm looking it up now.
Hey, here's my this is my brother. My brother Aaron. What's up, Aaron?
How's it going?
It's my brother Aaron. Hey,
Nice.
man. I know, right? All the lost hands in Star Wars. Like everybody loses a hand in Star Wars. Like you lose a hand and you lose a hand and you lose a hand.
Like, did you get the newest model of the robotic hand? No, I haven't got my cut off yet. Oh, just give it a year or two.
So the name of the Death Sticks guy is Elon Sleazebagano.
Yes, yes. Sleazebagano. I've got that action figure, dude. That is the best name.
You know what's funny? I believe it was in some comic. I don't know when the comic took place, but it was after Attack of the Clones. And they showed Sleazebagano, and he was like a well put together man, like a higher class man. So it's like he really did go rethink his life, and he was better because of it.
Wow.
Because Obi-Wan Jedi mind tricked him.
Yeah.
I am not 100% sure if that was him in the comic, but it was the same guy, like the same species or whatever with the antennas.
Sleazebagano. I had never heard that name until now.
I think it's
awesome.
I think it's Sleazebagano.
Sleazebagano, maybe.
Yeah, Sleazebagano. It's interesting too. Like before they walk into there, like the whole chase. I love the chase scene.
Except for the fact that Anakin's lightsaber falls out of his hand right into Obi-Wan's. It's like, hello.
Yeah. I got it. I've caught it. But that's an interesting scene. But then like right before they go.
You mentioned the trailer for that. I love the trailer where he's like, I hate when he does that.
Yes.
My favorite trailer for episode 2.
Yep. And then but they got the moment right before they walk into the bar, right where he gives Anakin the speech about his lightsaber. And that was when they had to do reshoots. And so if you look at it, he's wearing a wig. You could see like it's a total like Ewan looks completely different right there because he's got a fake beard. He's got like all this stuff. But I will say this, he looks a little off, but it's probably the best impersonation of Alec Guinness that he did in the entire thing to me. Like if you close your eyes during that scene where he's like, this is your lightsaber. And it almost looks like he's trying to do an impersonation because of the way he acts.
He talked about that when the bonus features of episode 3. He really tried to harness that inner Alec Guinness, especially like in episode 3 when he starts like stroking his beard and like all these different mannerisms that he tried to copy. So he slowly graduated to acting more and more like Alec Guinness, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is. And then of course, you know, he gives him that line, you know, you're going to be the death of me.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Foreshadowing. Again, another George Lucas moment. Another moment brought to you by George Lucas. And look, I don't want to like harp on George Lucas here, but it's interesting now that there's all these people who are just like George Lucas is the master. He's like, you know, like he's the creator. Nothing should ever be done without George Lucas involved in this and that and everything. And it's like you look back at moments like that, and yeah, we can look back fondly now, but it's almost like
cheesy.
Yeah, we got to call it what it is, right? Yeah. I mean, you know, and I know some people get offended by that. And if you're watching this, please don't get offended that we're just pointing out the stuff because the actors themselves have pointed this out over the years. I mean, Harrison Ford is great friends with George Lucas, and yet has torn him up and down about his dialogue, famously. So, you know.
It's like it was like kind of like forced foreshadowing in a sense.
Yeah.
Like
what is going to be the death of me? It's like, well, funny thing you should ask.
Exactly.
My friend and I had this conversation before Solo came out, and we're like, I swear to God, if he makes any lines like, "Oh, I hope my son doesn't kill me one day," which is some really obscure foreshadowing. Where he's
I really
like,
hope my son doesn't stab me with a broadsword looking lightsaber.
Or someone's like, "Oh, you should marry royalty." He's like, "Oh, I'll never marry a princess," or something really stupid.
Yeah,
like
right.
God.
Yeah. Oh man,
I was glad that didn't happen.
That line, I could see a line like that. Yeah, right. Like,
if George Lucas made Solo, there would have been something like that, guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Wink,
but
wink.
Yeah, but so they go outside. They got Zam Wessel and, you know, the dart, the little dart, you know, and Zam dies right away. Which I was thinking too, rewatching this, like if Jango Fett's aim is just a little off, or he shoots 3 darts, the whole thing's done.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's so many little moments like that in Star Wars, right? Like you go back to
is that the death of a bounty hunter would have less of a social impact than the death of a Jedi.
Yeah,
like the death of a Jedi is basically saying like, oh, this is war, but they don't want to reveal that yet. They're just like they don't want to reveal their hand just yet.
Well, too, do you think it's a little strange? Like, I see this kind of weird too, like in the movies and just in Star Wars in general, that sometimes the ideas of the Force and what Jedi do and what they can't do is really clouded, because we see like we see in Episode 1, you know, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon like leaping things, like you know, almost flying through the air at times, you know, which is like strange because like at the beginning they're like jumping down off of stuff, they're doing stuff, and then like by the end of Episode 1, Obi-Wan is like hanging off of something and trying to like pull himself up instead of just, you know, but then at the end when he's hovering there, like he obviously uses the Force to come back up and, you know, do a flip over, you know, so you got that. And so you got this moment that it's like this guy just shot a poison dart and killed your only chance of finding out what's going on. And they just watch him fly away with a jetpack.
Well, maybe they could have jumped even higher.
Like they could have jumped, used the Force, maybe grab him. You know what I mean? Like
maybe it was further away than they showed. Possibly.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's possible, but like, you know, I don't know. It's just the little things like that jump in your head the more that you watch a film. You know,
with that scene, I have so many of those thoughts. It's been nitpicked to hell, the opening sequence where they're chasing Zam Wessel, but it's like, if Jango Fett is so accurate with a dart, why did he hire someone else to kill Padme? And then like it's just so many things like that. You know, it's funny. I saw this on a video once. It's like Sidious wanted Count Dooku to kill Padme, but Count Dooku instead wanted Jango Fett to kill Padme. But Jango Fett wanted Zam Wessel to kill Padme. So then Zam Wessel wanted to kill
Padme.
Zam Wessel wanted a worm to kill Padme. So it's just like a big cycle.
I had never thought about that, Goldman. I had never.
I didn't think of it either. I saw it in a video, so but it's still really funny.
The chain of command for who's gonna kill Padme. The poor worms all lays
in the head of a worm,
and then the worms just die.
And then it's funny because, you know, Obi-Wan tells Anakin he hates when Anakin jumps out of the speeder, but then he just jumps through a window, no problem. It's like what? Yeah. I don't know. I have a lot of problems with that opening sequence. I try to suspend disbelief a lot during these big action scenes, but with that, there's just things like when Anakin jumps out and he flies like 20 seconds before just landing on Zam Wessel's speeder. It's like the timing and the physics behind that is just so insane. Yeah. And what was his plan? What was Obi-Wan's plan when he jumped out? Did he know Anakin would get a speeder? And then I don't know. That scene's a little weird. But one thing I do like is during the bar, when they're at the bar, you do see Anthony Daniels.
Yes.
And Ahmed Best.
Yes.
Which is nice.
Yes.
And also, it is weird seeing there's those robots playing football on the TV.
Yeah.
That's always been a little weird.
Sacked, and then they come with the player's card, like, oh, here's statistics. It's like that's kind of funny. It's Buffalo Wild Wings on Coruscant.
It is. It really is. That's funny. That is funny, but that's exactly what it is. It's So it's interesting to see these little nuances in that movie. And so the story unfolds obviously, and we got now this dart. This crazy dart that Obi-Wan has to find out where the dart came from, and Anakin now is of course getting put with Padme, and they have to go off together and do their thing, and I love the fact that they're supposedly in hiding, yet she's still wearing big elaborate headdresses.
Yeah, I know.
And they're out in the open fields like dancing and cuddling with each other.
Yes,
it's a threat of being assassinated.
Now, what do you guys think of the potato creatures?
Oh my gosh! So I was just watching, and this goes for all of the living beings that are CGI in this movie, except for the Camino people. The Camino people actually look pretty good, even today. But everything else, like you look at Star Wars Episode 2, just talking about CGI, and you have, of course, like the things like the planets and the ships. All
looks like you're bugging out real bad.
Good. Oh, am I better now?
A little bit. Let's give it a second. Let you refresh there a little bit. We just want to say thank you to DC Talk with Extended for the $5 super chat. Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate you, man. Really appreciate what you're doing, man, for sure. Thank you.
In the meantime, I'll talk about the potato animals. And to me, they've always looked like ticks more than potatoes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And like the
I can see that.
It's always funny because when Anakin's like riding one, it's just like it's kind of like Legolas when he's riding the elephant. It's like he just shouldn't be able to stay on. He's like standing on the head and it's like leaning forward and he should fall off. It just it's really awkward. Again, these are a lot of small nitpicks, but it's still like they add up over time.
Yeah, he's defying all laws of gravity right then at that moment.
When I watched Attack of the Clones the most recent time, I really noticed. I don't think the clones look good at all anymore. Like they really do look CGI to me. Revenge of the Sith is a little better, but the clones do not look good. At least when I watched it. Maybe on Disney Plus it's a little better.
Am I better now?
Yeah, yes. All right, continue.
And it is too bad. Not to cut off nerdy, but it is too bad that none of those clones were real.
Yeah.
That not one of them, man. That's what was really disappointing for me about that whole thing. Is like there was never a real clone trooper in that whole thing. But anyways, so back to the potato tick creatures.
So my big thing, like I was mentioning before I started cutting in and out, was the solid structures in this movie, like the buildings and ships. They still hold up. They still look good. But everything else that moves and lives doesn't hold up as well. Like, and that's of course all CGI. Like CGI, when it comes to living beings and things that move and breathe, they're harder to animate because they're constantly moving. And if you want to make them look like they're living, you have to constantly, the skin have to keep moving and all things like that. And like for example, Gavin Clusis, the bartender guy with the forearms, look good. He doesn't look bad. His skin though has some parts. But again, all the structure, like all the structure and stuff. All the structures and ships look good. It's just the living beings. And you mentioned the clone troopers. Like the clone troopers today, they don't quite hold up. They look like they'd be in the animated one. They look like they'd fit in that world. So it's a big mixed bag with CGI in this movie.
Yeah. I know now if you talk to our good friend Zeverfett, Ryan Zeverfett, like he hates the way Dexter Jetster looks. He absolutely hates it. I was just talking to him earlier tonight, and we were kind of talking about the fact that we were doing this episode, and he just hates it. And I gotta admit, like there's the one part where like he hugs Obi-Wan, where that does not hold up. That's a
Does not.
no. That's a weird thing. But I like Dexter.
It looks
Jester.
awkward.
I like his personality. I like
It's
his
a great name.
personality. Yeah.
George Lucas has a keen eye for making really unique names. You know, Elon Sleazebagano, Dexter
Right.
Jetster.
Yeah.
I do have really fond memories of Dexter's Diner because in the very old first Lego Star Wars game, it was just the prequel.
Yes.
The hub menu was Dexter's Diner, so you could walk around. You'd have to go like have the nice doors. You'd go to the each movie, like it was episode 1, 2, and 3. And then when they did the complete saga, they went with the original trilogy one, which was the Mos Eisley Cantina. I was a little upset. You know, I'd rather be in Dexter's Diner than the
or you can give them both. Like, you can do both. Like when you're doing the prequels, you can go to Dexter's Diner, and then the other one you go to Mos Eisley Cantina. Which I agree with that, because I remember there was a movie gallery store near where I lived, and we rented that first Lego Star Wars game with the prequels. And I same as you, I have very fond memories of Dexter's Diner in that game. Just, oh my gosh, man.
Some people in the comments, I think we struck a chord with the effects of this movie, because Vincent Rhodes here says the lack of practical effects throughout the prequels really make it look dated compared to watching the original trilogy even today.
That's true, because practical effects always hold up better. The only thing though that I will say about some of the parts of CGI that don't look great in this movie is you can always count on George Lucas to be revolutionary as far as movie effects.
We're going to get to that kind in just a second, because Mask of Shy says, I just ignore those things. For me, it's like, oh, it suddenly came an animated movie. In a lot of ways, you're absolutely right. I mean, at what point, I remember like, people joking back in the day that like,
you're really bugging out.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's just me. Yeah, it's you actually sound kind of funny.
Yeah,
sorry about I'll be back.
Man, we're having some technical difficulties today, ladies and gentlemen, but welcome to the Poindexter Lounge, the place for nerds. This is my channel now.
Yeah, we're the new hosts of the Poindexter Lounge.
We've taken it. I do have access to Enosh's channel, so...
There we go.
Yeah, you do. Hopefully that's better.
Yeah.
But what I was saying is I remember back in the day, people would actually make a joke of like, should the movie be considered an animated film? Right? You know, like is it really a regular film, or should it be an animated film? And so there is that. But then Silent Scotty brought up what you were talking about just a minute ago, Dawson. It says the thing to note about the CGI in the prequels, they were literally inventing the software that does this better now. Contributions to Maya's particle physics and techniques used in Lord of the Rings as well.
Exactly.
George Lucas has always been on the cutting edge of technology. Obviously, he made Jar Jar Binks, which, you know, for good or worse or whatever, he was the first fully animated, you know, CGI character, and now we just take that for granted.
Right.
Yeah.
That opened the door for so many things that we have now. Like you can make the Hulk in a movie. You can make oh gosh, what's another character? You can make Vision, right? You can CGI those things. You can animate even General Zod's armor and Man of Steel, like that. That led the way for all those different things you can do with CGI.
I always like to say, if it wasn't for Jar Jar Binks, we wouldn't have had Gollum.
Oh, true. So true.
Great point.
And that tide has definitely turned, because like obviously I got a wall of Black Series figures right here, and they we're getting a Jar Jar Binks figure because it was a fan voted thing that people wanted.
It made me so happy.
Yeah. So it's like the tide has turned, and I just want to say to Silent Scotty. So first of all, I just went to Wi-Fi when I came back, because I was hooked to the landline, and I can't get much closer because I'm literally like a foot away from the router, man. All right. Why don't you work some of your magic, mister, and help me out here? I don't know. I think it's just like a weird thing, but sometimes you just can't help it. But yeah, so then we got the side stories. Obviously, we've talked a little bit already about Padme and Anakin running off, doing their thing, having this weird kind of forced relationship kind of situation going on that wouldn't work for anybody really in the real world. But
I will say though,
yes.
in Anakin and Padme's moments, one of my favorites that they have, not necessarily as like a romantic moment, one of my favorite moments of them together is when Anakin reunites with Watto.
Oh,
I like that scene a lot. I remember in the theater watching that and feeling like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
It is you.
And it's actually a pretty well acted scene. Like,
it is.
It's actually pretty well done. And I like it quite a bit.
Anything on Tatooine is really good in this movie.
Yeah.
That's easily my favorite part of the movie.
Tatooine's the key.
What do you think? So that's a great scene to jump on because Watto is done really well in that scene. The interaction is done really well. I love the fact that Watto even then is trying
again.
Really?
Yep.
Jeez. I don't know. I don't know.
You guys must be jealous of my college Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah. Shut up.
Oh, he's gone.
We're back in charge.
One thing I want to talk about with Watto. Yeah, I like seeing Watto here and there, but one thing about this movie that I don't like is C-3PO. I don't know why, but like the sequence, the Geonosis,
oh yeah,
what's it called? The conveyor belt, and like C-3PO is flying around everywhere. It just looks so weird, and he's like screaming, and then he walks into line, gets his head knocked off, and like he attached to the battle droids. Like for me, the Jar Jar humor I find somewhat funny now. Maybe it's just because I can be so immature at times. But like the C-3PO stuff never makes me laugh. One could argue that the Jar Jar stuff is so bad that it's funny now, but to me, I C-3PO in this movie is
Yeah, no, I completely 100% agree when it comes to C-3PO and that conveyor belt and Geonosis. I remember even watching it as a kid and thinking like, this is kind of taking a long time. I was 5. I feel like that moment that Ryan in The Office says, it's like, I feel a little too old for this. I was 5.
That's funny.
It's a laughing robot.
Yes. Seriously? Still?
Well, I think you're better now. Your voice is a little better.
Okay. I don't know.
Look who's the one with the bad internet now.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Am I okay? Because on my end, I've looked fine. That's why it's weird. Okay. But no, I wanted to talk about Tatooine.
Okay.
Clegg Lars, Owen Lars, that whole thing, Shimmy gets sold and she gets married. Like if you're would you never think to look for Anakin if you're free?
Well, to be fair, she's probably married to a guy he can't really go anywhere, and they probably don't have a ton of money to afford transport. You know? And they probably don't have the luxury of like intergalactic communication.
I feel like the bigger question is why didn't Anakin ever seek out, as you say, Shimmy?
Shmi.
I heard you say Shimmy before, but yes, Shmi. I think there's a bunch of reasons, but I don't know. When they finally get together after all that time, it's a very powerful scene.
Oh yeah.
I think Hayden Christensen's acting is pretty decent there. When
yeah,
it's a little cheesy, Shmi's last words are like "I love," and then that dies right before she says "you." It's a little cheesy there, but I can completely forgive that. I think the worst part about that scene is that it ends way too fast. I would have loved to see a little more angry Anakin actually taking out the Tusken Raiders. Maybe not so gruesome. I mean, we did cut away from seeing all the younglings die.
Show all the blood. Show all of it.
Make it rated R. Rated R. Taking that
actually,
lightsaber, shoving it right up where the sun don't shine.
It's actually something that's kind of reminds me of The Mandalorian too. In the first episode of or chapter 9, the first episode of season 2, if you notice during that whole
spoilers by the way, but we will talk about it. We will talk about it.
Very light spoilers. But there's Tusken Raiders right in chapter 9, and at the end they fight the big monster. And if you notice, the only people who die are the Tusken Raiders.
Right.
It's like they don't treat the storytellers, they don't treat Tusken Raiders like people. We have no problem seeing Tusken Raiders get decapitated left and right, but when it's time for the younglings, it cuts away.
Yeah.
So it's I always found it funny how they're organic beings, right? It's one thing to see droids get cut down, but like Tusken Raiders are people. So it's funny how George Lucas likes to treat them Like
Well,
they're not.
it's funny that you mentioned episode, or I guess chapter 9 of The Mandalorian, where again he's talking with the Tusken Raiders, and then you listen to Lars. He's like, they look like people, but they are monsters. Like basically just completely just saying like there's
Yeah,
nothing
that's
That
weird.
they're
humanistic about
animals.
them.
That they're animals.
Yeah.
And even Anakin echoes that later just by saying, like, I cut them down. They're
They're
animals.
animals.
I hate them.
I hate them.
Yeah. You know, a little overacting. I guess for that scene, that scene is very powerful for me, like where he finally sees his mom again and stuff. It's a little on the nose because like he finds her just before she dies.
Yeah.
Literally like seconds before she dies, right? And it's like
Mhm.
I think it would have been a little something more if he found her and then the Tusken Raiders come in and somehow she ends up dying, you know, in a mix up or whatever. But the fact she just dies in his arms is a little interesting. But also, I'm sorry, and I've taken a lot of flack for this from different people, especially now who absolutely love that scene. But when her head flops over,
Yeah.
I laugh every time. I'm sorry. It's the one thing that takes me out of it. It's like such a touching, serious moment. And then she's just like,
Yeah, she definitely does the whole like
you know, and it's like
the Dark Knight Rises where it's just like ugh.
yeah, it's just weird. It's just weird. But I agree, man. Watching chapter 9 of The Mandalorian really put that scene in a different perspective for me, as far as being able to see the Tusken Raiders as people,
Civilized people, yeah.
as somebody real, and you know, culture and their families and all those things that I think that they tried to show a little bit of in episode 2, maybe with showing that they had families, you know, and like groups and stuff like that, but didn't go there, like to actually show their culture, to show how they communicated and all those things, you know.
In the movies, it seems to me that the most like world building that's done with the Tusken Raiders in terms of making them feel like an actual civilization is when Anakin says there were women and children too. Like to me, it just always seems like it's like Tusken Raiders, like they're women Tusken Raiders. I mean, I wouldn't know. They're their children. I wouldn't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I do like though how in the Mandalorian they brought back the like the dog type creature we see very briefly in Attack of the Clones. I like that.
Right.
Yep. No, I agree. You know, because when I first saw it, I had to place what I was looking at because I've got the action figures. You know what I mean? And so like I had to place like what am I seeing here? Like I know that creature. Where is that from? And then it was like, oh yeah, it's the Sand People, you know. I did want to address something because Nicotina did ask here, and I would have loved to have had her on tonight. Asked where's Tiff, because she was a part of our last discussion, and I would love to have Tiff here. Just so everybody knows, on the up and up, our family was actually recently possibly exposed to COVID, and so we all got tested today. But Tiffany's been feeling under the weather. And so it's been something that we're monitoring and watching. And so she's just not up for doing this tonight. So keep her in your thoughts, your prayers, whatever. And, you know, she'll be back next time. So,
yeah.
But so he kills them, all of them, men, women, children, everybody comes back, gets mad. We get to see them though in the garage that we saw Anakin. We first met Anakin in, and of course, Padme's got another costume change, you know, and she's wearing the blue dress. That's not why we took every precaution, Mr. Nicotina, go to the movies. I would still go to the movies. That's not why. It was because somebody else was stupid and didn't tell us.
Don't tell them what to do, Andre.
Exactly. So, but then we got the whole side plot with, it's not really a side plot. It's really kind of the main plot. And that is Obi-Wan finding out about the clones.
Right.
I love the Camino stuff.
Yeah, no, I do too. I think I mentioned before, like when we were talking about the CGI, the Camino creatures or the Camino people are the most well done piece of CGI in the entire film, besides the structures and ships. Like it's so odd. I talk about all the other living beings, how they all kind of look a little fake, but the texture on them, they must have spent extra time working on them. But then at the same time, like it might be easier.
Goldman had a little bit of a laugh there.
I was reading the comments. It wasn't about anything.
Okay. I thought
no.
Maybe.
But but anyway, I think what made it look so much better is that those alien creatures, they're in bright white light. That's what they're in. And I think when you have certain colors like that, it's easier to animate and make them look realistic with the textures and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Man, but with Camino always looked a little too clean for me. I know that's a big criticism of the prequels, but it's one I agree with. Because I'm pretty sure nothing in there was practical except for maybe Jango Fett's room and that hallway. Yeah. Speaking of Jango Fett, Boba Fett in this movie is so funny. He opens the door. He's like, "Hey, can we speak to your father?" Sure. It's just like I really wonder if that was in the script or if he just like George Lucas wrote Boba Fett. Sure.
And then he just laughs at his dad while he kills people.
The acting, it cuts. It just when he says sure, I cried.
Well, it's
but
like
for a different reason.
It's like when his dad is like shooting at Obi-Wan and they killed him. He's like, ha ha ha, yes, kill him, father.
Yes.
It's like Baby Yoda and it's like Baby Yoda in one of the episodes of Mandalorian season 1 where like he's watching as Mando's killing all the people. Like, yes, do it.
I find it funny when that exchange though. I think you're absolutely right. That exchange between Obi-Wan and Jango Fett is such a posing moment, like a guy posing moment, where it's just like, hey, your work ever take you out to Coruscant?
Maybe a few times.
Yeah, I also love I love how they it basically for those who are too slow who can't keep up with the movie, they show the armor.
Yeah.
Like, by the way, yes, that is this guy.
It's in perfect view in the corner, and then I think it's Bubba's got to close the door.
Yeah. It's like, they're put that armor back in there and stuff, and so they have that exchange. I mean, what do you? That exchange is so weird that like the Obi-Wan is just kind of chill, kind of taking it all in, kind of doing his thing, and then he talks to the council. It's like now go arrest the guy.
Yeah, he's like, I want to be very sure. What I'm doing, just like sure.
Go bring the guy back, okay, and they're taking off.
And what's funny is that like Obi-Wan's not very subtle in that conversation. Like he's pretty straight up. Like, your work ever take out to Coruscant? And like super like straight faced. And then he wonders why all of a sudden like Jango's leaving and ditching the place. Is like he knows you're on. I was ready for Jango to say the word. Yeah, pretty much.
And one thing about, I think it was the because there's a scene right where he's on the hologram through when it's raining and he's talking to Obi-Wan and Mace Windu, and it's the first time I realized this, and this is very evident in the Clone Wars too, that when people are having a conversation over holograms, it almost never makes any sense.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
It's like when for a good example being the when Anakin first sees Ahsoka again in the Siege of Mandalore over the hologram, like Ahsoka is looking one way, and then she turns around to look at Anakin, right? Which makes sense if she were actually there, but it always makes me wonder, what is Ahsoka seeing?
Yeah,
is she in a room and there's holograms all around her? So it's the first time I really noticed that in the Clone Wars, because we don't really see many holograms. We see like little mini Vader in Empire Strikes Back, and then do we see any holograms in Phantom Menace?
Yes, Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, Emperor Palpatine and Darth Maul. Yeah, Darth Maul.
That one makes a little more sense. Like when we first see Darth Maul over there at like a table, like Palpatine's
there's also the walking hologram thing where it's like a droid and he's walking with them. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just something. Again, it's not exclusive to Attack of the Clones, like throughout Star Wars, but it's just like a little nitpick thing. It's like, I wonder how that works.
Yeah, well, especially like when they're all like around a table or they're all like looking at somebody, and yeah, I've noticed that several times. Or like when they do the hologram thing where like they had, I think it's in episode 3 where like all the Jedi are around the table, but they're all holograms except for like a couple of them, and they're all like looking at each other like they're all just right there. But then when you see what they're really looking at, like it doesn't.
It's like I think it's when they're on Camino not Camino, Kashyyyk, and like Yoda's looking at the holograms. He's like at a table, and then like there's like another table, and it's like they're all there. So like, do the people at Jedi Council see just a giant Yoda? No, they see Yoda sitting in his usual chair.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like some sort of the code is so advanced that they can make it so.
Same thing with Ki-Adi-Mundi. Yeah. He's just sitting there like, oh, here we go. How about attack of the Wookiees?
Yeah. So we get the whole, convoluted plan of Sifo Dyas, which has been, talked about many times, as to like how that worked and was talked about in the Clone Wars cartoon. And, I like that we get the bump, the nod to the stormtroopers banging their head in episode 4. And where the dent comes in for the helmet there.
Oh yeah.
I just think it's funny. Like it's been there that whole time. Even seeing it on the Mandalorian, it's still there. It's very distinguishable now. We know that. What are your guys' thoughts? And I know this is kind of going off on a different kind of thing, but like obviously, Jango Fett had this very streamlined blue color scheme. Goldman, you mentioned it earlier. It's like Obi-Wan had a totally different thing in mind here. It's like he painted the.
You mean Boba?
Or excuse me, what did I say?
Obi-Wan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so
How
Boba.
Dare you?
Sorry. Boba kind of goes for a totally different thing, going green, red, all this stuff, and even changes Slave 1.
Yeah.
To a different color scheme. It's like
maybe he just prefers the color green.
Yeah,
people have their preferences.
Yeah, it's just interesting how we see the armor change like that.
Are you sure it's an Attack of the Clones where the helmet gets the dent? Because I thought it was in one of the unfinished Clone Wars episodes when Boba Fett fights Cad Bane where he got the dent. I could be wrong, but I thought that's when it was supposed to be.
I was pretty sure that it was when they're getting ready to take off, and Jango is walking up thing, and the thing comes down and hits him in the head. The door comes down and hits him in the head. Yeah, the door definitely comes down and hits him in the head because that's a callback to episode 4 where the stormtrooper walks into the door.
Right. Yeah, but is that when he gets the dent? I'm curious.
That's what I had always heard. No, if I could be wrong, that'd be interesting.
I'm gonna look at a clip of Jango Fett's death and see if the dent is there. I'm curious, but you guys continue.
No, I'm absolutely curious. That's interesting because I had always heard that was what it was, and maybe I'm just not remembering this episode. Vincent here says it is against Cad Bane.
Oh.
All right, so let's see. Well, I don't think he has the dent when he's on Geonosis. Oh, does it? Oh, it's hard to talk. I can't get a good look at him. Oh, there. Hold on.
Huh. Interesting.
Share that
reviewing
screen.
the play. Yeah, he does not have the dent.
Interesting.
Okay.
I had always assumed that's where he got it, and I'd actually heard like that. So that's interesting.
Enosh was wrong.
I was wrong. Look.
You learn something new every day.
You know what? Absolutely. That's the wonderful thing about this is like even the things that you assume that you know.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Yoda said. Just like Yoda said, you must unlearn what you have learned, right? This movie has like a lot of like weird places that it goes at the end, right? Because it has all these stories that kind of come together at the end, but it's not just one story. Most Star Wars movies have like 3 parts to them, right? This movie kind of keeps going, right? You have the first part, you have the second part where they're on Camino, then you have a third part, they're on Geonosis, and Geonosis feels like it should be the end of the movie, but it's not.
And there's more Geonosis.
Yeah, there's like more it's like more extra, at the end there. But let's talk about the Jedi scene, the Jedi and the attack of the clones. Finally, what were your thinking? I remember the first time I saw that scene, guys, and all of the Jedi come in with lightsabers blazing. Even my son Anakin said, or my son Anakin. See what I'm doing? My son Landon tonight. He was talking to me because we just did this big thing where we had everybody and I was looking at video of it and everybody's got my lightsabers and I've got like 15, 16 lightsabers now, whatever. And he's really bugging me because he wants me to do my review of my new Palpatine lightsaber. And so that I haven't unboxed yet. And he's like, take it out, man. Dad, I want to see it. And I'm just like, no, I got to wait. And he's, but he was talking about that. He's like, you could get everybody together and you could actually like recreate that scene. And we almost did that in my front yard, like with everybody with my lightsabers. So that was such a freaking awesome moment to me. Watching all those Jedi run with those lights. We had never seen anything like that before.
That's what I had always wanted in Star Wars, because Star Wars has the coolest fictional weapon ever created in the lightsaber. And for it being in Star Wars, it's so underused, except for, of course, in things like the Clone Wars show and in Episode 2. Everywhere else, it's completely underutilized, and it's infuriating. But Episode 2, yes, really satisfied that hunger for me.
Yeah.
I guess since for me, you know, it's kind of hard to appreciate those moments, like seeing all the Jedi together the first time, because to me, that's always just been part of Star Wars.
Sure.
So, like, I don't have as much fond memories of the Battle of Geonosis besides, like, when I was younger and wanting to play with the action figures. Because to me, like, that used to be Star Wars. Like, the prequels was Star Wars, and the originals were these old, slow movies that looked dated. I vividly remember talking to my mom, and I was like, "Oh, I love the prequels," and she's like, "Oh, I like the originals," and I'm like, "How could you like the originals more? They're so boring." And but now, you know, I'm much more grown up.
Yes.
When it comes, I actually disagree with you, Nerdy. When it comes to the lightsabers, I've always preferred my lightsabers being used sparingly. Because it just makes it feel more.
We can never be friends.
It's like, I don't know, the way I see it, it's like when lightsabers are barely used. It's like, you know, when something's not used much, it has more impact when it is used.
Sure.
So, like, that's one thing I like about the sequels. You know, the lightsabers aren't used as much. Something about the originals I like too. Like, when someone takes out a lightsaber, like, they mean business. And it's something bigger. It's a bigger problem I have in Revenge of the Sith. Like, Obi-Wan's taking his lightsaber out left and right. Like, if they're an elevator, turn it on. I don't know, small things like that. That's why I prefer some of the original stuff more. Like, when someone takes out their lightsaber, it's time. They mean business. But I understand, you know, seeing all these people with lightsabers at school and stuff.
No, that's a really great point. And yes, Aaron Entertainment. Yes, I am Anakin's dad. It is canon because I said so. But yeah, no. Mask of Shy here agrees with you. Says, yeah, it's like the lightsaber. It's not just a sword. It's a status symbol. It's something that people recognize with the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, even Anakin at the beginning, you know, in Episode 1, he recognizes that laser sword. That laser sword as something very, you know, specific. And so that's those are all really great points. So I
still want it used more.
There you go. Hey, you know what? Hey, man, you know, and I actually, Goldman, I actually agree with you. So as cool as I thought it was seeing them all run across there with all these lightsabers and all that stuff, it almost became, as the fight went on, and like, you know, Anakin and Obi-Wan need a lightsaber, so they're just like, oh yeah, here's a couple lightsabers.
Yeah, that always bugged me. Like, I thought lightsaber was like something that's really personal, you know, like now with the canon, like, you get a kyber crystal, you're supposed to like bond with it.
Yeah.
So you get your color.
They probably had some spare ones that they're just like, okay, these Jedi are captured, so if we see them, hand them a lightsaber. These are spare ones. It won't be their official ones, but
I suppose.
I guess. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about that, Goldman, because it just seemed like that scene kind of cheapened it a little bit. It was just like, oh, here's a couple lightsabers, guys. You know, whatever, do your thing.
One thing with the lightsabers, it's a little disappointing. It's the first time we see someone wielding two lightsabers, but it lasts like 3 seconds. You know, Obi-Wan, like, Anakin does a few spins, and then he it happened in Rebels too. It's always weird when somehow they're fighting and someone manages to destroy the lightsaber, but not the person's hand.
Right.
Like, I'm not sure if you remember, but in Rebels, spoilers, you haven't seen it, when Ezra's fighting Vader, like, Vader manages to destroy the lightsaber, but Ezra's hands are fine. Like, that happens here too. It's always a little weird.
The thing with two lightsabers, though, is that I remember trying to like fight with two lightsabers as a kid with my brother, and
it's hard.
It is. It's very hard. Hence why I can understand why maybe they like miss the blade or like miss the person and they get swung at and gets like top, because like your fingers start to bleed after playing lightsabers for so long, so you hit each other's hands.
Yeah. Oh, it's the worst.
Which makes sense. Well, there's so many severed hands in Star Wars.
Well, maybe, but you know, it could be the fact that you're not a trained Jedi.
Hey.
Not sure.
With the Force to flow through you to feel the weapon as an extension of yourself.
I was a child.
Well, you know, youngling.
I was a youngling.
You were a youngling. But, you know, so you get there, and then, of course, then there's the fight, right? Between, so Anakin and Padme have professed their love to each other as awkwardly as you possibly can.
I truly, deeply love you. It's like,
which is sad because she's so good in other things.
I know.
We just watched V for Vendetta the other night, and it's like, oh man, where was that? Right?
Yeah.
Like where was that actress? When all this was going on. But so they professed their love to each other. There's all that, and now we get the fight: Count Dooku versus Anakin and Obi-Wan. Goldman, what do you love about that fight? What do you hate about that fight?
Well, for one, it's easily my least favorite lightsaber fight. Actually, no, I would say second least favorite one. My least favorite one would be the one with General Grievous. Okay. Just because General Grievous is my least favorite character in all of Star Wars. But we'll talk about that next time. Yeah. Wow. We'll talk about that next time. Okay. I don't know. This fight, it's so weird. The one in Attack of the Clones. Like, so right before they begin.
Awkward cuts.
It's a little weird. So when they begin, right? Obi-Wan's like, we'll go in slowly on the left. And then Anakin's like, no, I'm just going to go now. And then, Dooku shoots him. Like, that line was always so weird to me. Going slowly on the left. I don't know. That was always weird.
You're announcing to your opponent. He's going to go in slowly on the left, by the way.
Yeah. And then Obi-Wan and Count Dooku fight. And then Obi-Wan gets these two cuts, like one on his arm, one on his leg. And he's out for the fight. Like, to me, that's always weird. And I made this point up. People love to crap on Kylo Ren for being like weak, but he got shot in the chest with a bowcaster. Finn sliced his shoulder. Rey stabbed him a few times, and he's still fighting. But Obi-Wan, a trained Jedi master, gets a cut on his shoulder and his leg, and he's like on the ground, like out for the fight. And he has to throw the.
To be fair, when he gets sliced in the thigh, it's cutting through muscles. That, like, when you sprain a muscle in your leg, it's hard to run. Like, my wife's a volleyball player, and she has a specific muscle that she sprained in her leg where she can't run forward. And so if you get, like, those muscles sliced by a laser sword...
Like, the way it looks, it's not like he got half his leg, like, cut off.
That's a small little cut.
It just seems like a paper cut, like just a much more aggressive paper cut. I don't know. It's always been weird to me.
I gotta agree. It didn't look like much of a cut at all, to be quite honest with you.
And then Count Dooku's face is always just weird to me. He's like... I don't know. The choices there are funny. And then Anakin, he gets up. Count Dooku's like about to kill him. He goes like that, and then Anakin jumps out and blocks it. So then it's Anakin versus Count Dooku. We get like the few seconds of the two lightsabers, and then he loses the green one. And then this is probably like the worst choreography in all of lightsaber fights. When when it goes dark and they're both like that, and then they just start fighting and.
A lot of
what is it? It's just like, and it's weird because people like to say the prequel fights are over choreographed, and that's fine. But like the Phantom Menace had good like cinematography, right? You got there are very few shots where the two characters are like right up each other, right? Yeah. And when they are, they're stopped. But when people are actually swinging the blades, it's nice wide shots. You get a good look at the fight. But then here, like a good portion of that Anakin versus Dooku fight, it's like this close up in the dark, and it looks awful when they're twirling the lightsabers.
Well, what it looks like is happening. It looks like they're both just told to like twirl their lightsabers, and they added in the sound of lightsabers clashing, but they're just like.
Well, what's the weird thing too, where Anakin supposedly slices like a pipe or a tube or something like that?
Yeah, he sliced the tube that's like,
and it doesn't even look like he's sliced down. Like he's like still up here somewhere, and it's supposed that he sliced the tube on the ground or whatever, and. It is. I've always thought it was strange, but of course, I think a lot of that was to cover up, obviously, the fact that Christopher Lee was old, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, he wasn't really going to fight that well, in that, I guess. But yeah, I gotta agree. It's the worst. It's the worst lightsaber fight, hands down.
Mm-hmm. And then. But it's weird because in Revenge of the Sith, I feel like the beginning fight with Count Dooku is much better filmed.
Yes.
So maybe over 3 years they managed to make it better. So then Anakin gets his hand cut off. It was always weird when he got it was more so like his whole forearm, right?
Yeah.
But it's always weird because they were fighting. He just holds it out like this. Yeah. And it gives Count Dooku the perfect time to cut it. Yeah. I don't know. That always seemed a little weird to me. Like, and then Yoda showed. Yeah, he's just like whoa, cha. And he gets force pushed back, and Anakin's just laying there with like his arm out. And then we get Yoda. Yoda's first time using a lightsaber. Yes. So I'm curious to see what you guys think about Yoda and the lightsaber.
So, okay. In the theater,
So.
watching that in the theater as a 5-year-old kid, I remember distinctly when Yoda walked in, my older brother, who was 7 at the time, and I were watching it, and we look at each other like, is this going to go down? And I look at my dad's just like, what's happening here? And he pulls out his lightsaber that jumps up and like is going crazy. Literally, the theater erupted. The theater was like, yeah! Everyone's like screaming, jumping up and down with Yoda just bouncing all over the place. It was great. I love it. It's so much fun.
So very, very similar to what happened in your theater when Yoda showed up, when he comes right around that corner there, everybody was like, oh yeah, they were getting into it. They were like, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. And then when he pulls back, the dialogue is a little weird there between him and Dooku, where they're trying to like blast each other. He's trying to hit him with force lightning, and he catches the lightning, and very on the nose where Count Dooku says, something to the effect of, obviously we'll not be able to solve this with our use of the force. We'll have to do it with with our use of a lightsaber. It's like, okay, just pull out your lightsaber, dude. Just be like, hey,
yeah,
I'm here. Which I will say, that Count Dooku lightsaber, I just got one a couple of months ago. Oh my God.
It's a nice lightsaber.
I've wanted that lightsaber forever. And once I got it, it feels so good in your hand. Like, it's so weird. I know that sounds weird. Somebody's going to clip that, but I'm telling you right now,
it feels so good.
It does. You know what? It's like that. And this is going to sound horrible. That curve.
That's a clip, brother.
I'm just saying. There's something.
That's a clip. That's a clip, brother.
I'm just saying that curve.
Someone send that to me now.
Oh my God. When you're fighting with that, because I also got Asajj Ventress's lightsaber, and actually hers is even better because it's smoother.
Just stop.
I'm sorry. I gotta say it the only way that I know to say it. I don't know what else to say. It is what it is. I'm sorry. And by the way, yes, DC Talk, I did see. I don't know if you heard me. I did acknowledge your super chat. By the way, thank you so much, brother. I did it. I don't think you saw it. It says, great, stream's gonna get taken down. Thanks, Enosh. Look, I'm just saying, I now have those lightsabers in my possession.
Okay.
And the Asajj Ventress one, they're both very ergonomic. Okay, as far as that, and you can tell now. I can tell now.
You're trying so hard.
I can see now where, like, he had more of a fencing style.
Okay.
Right. Like more of a fencing style, because where it's curved there, like you can flip it around and like.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying, you can flip it around, you can twirl it.
All right, you're doing it.
Stop!
Oh, good lord. All right, I think we get it. You like Dooku's lightsaber.
I like Dooku's lightsaber. It gets the job done. I'm just saying, it gets the job done. Okay, gets the job done.
I'm crying here.
Oh God.
Oh.
So,
I needed that. I needed that so bad.
Yeah, apparently we all needed that. But the thing is that I love that scene, and I've recreated that scene a lot since I got that lightsaber. Like where it's just very elegant. It's very elegant the way that he uses that saber, and like when he pulls it up to his face like that, Stop! Come on, that wasn't even one.
Cut it off now.
I think you have to stop saying it. Just say the lightsaber. my mouth.
Gold man, just take it to another point.
I'm just saying it's a great moment, but Yoda when Yoda. God, it's not gonna stop. When Yoda pulls his little coat to the side and uses the Force. He uses the Force to like get his blade out and and ignites it. And he's like, basically Yoda's just like, yeah, bring it on, man. And Yoda is so cool in that moment. I don't think Yoda's ever been more cool than that moment right there.
That's
and
true.
the entire place erupted. And then they started laughing almost like we're laughing right now because
It's really funny.
quit at my backer and says
my jaw hurts from laughing right now. Dude.
Oh man, everything hurts. I'm crying. Like
says you just need a heavy lisp.
It's on the lightsaber, so nice.
I'm definitely clipping that.
That lightsaber was so smooth.
The curvature was very nice.
The curvature was very nice in my hand, and I liked it a lot. I think we need a 5-minute break. Smoke them if you got it.
I need to crack his beer.
Oh my gosh. So that fight, it goes from being this really, really awesome, like serious moment to like, what the heck am I watching here?
Oh, I still thought it was cool when he was bouncing around. Like I thought that was awesome.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to my train of thought I had before all this. It looks
luck.
weird because it's like the lightsabers are barely like, it doesn't look like they're actually flashing.
Good correction.
I'm not gonna say blades or it's just lightsabers from now on.
Yeah.
The lightsabers, like when Yoda's bouncing around, it doesn't even look like they're really clashing. It doesn't. I don't have the same. It doesn't feel like it's the same weight. Like the lightsabers just feel so light. And I always thought it was a little cheesy that Yoda has like a little has a small lightsaber. He
has a Shouto blade.
It was always a little like cheesy, like, oh, Yoda's got a little small lightsaber, he's and like and then
I have that lightsaber actually, and it's actually kind of fun because like I'll take, when I do like a 2 lightsaber thing, I'll like have my Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi saber, and I'll use that
backwards
Yoda saber, the small saber, backwards, and you kind of you're able to
like it's designed to, like a Shouto blade.
And then it has the most like anticlimactic end to the fight of any.
It
lightsaber
does.
fight.
It's really
That's
short
true.
too.
That's true.
They're fighting, and then what exactly happens? Dooku like rips some things from the ceiling or whatever, and then Yoda has to lift it, and then Dooku gets into his little pod that's weird looking, and then it just takes off. It's a very, I don't know. It's like it has the most anticlimactic end. It's the worst choreographed. It has like the weirdest lines too. It has the least like emotional weight to it.
Yeah, and but it starts off so good. That's the problem. Like it starts off like this is going to be amazing, and then like you said, it's just kind of like, all right.
Hot take moment.
Okay.
You can compare that Yoda fight scene to the song "Sweet Child of Mine."
This is interesting.
Because the opening of Sweet Child of Mine is legendary. It's amazing.
Oh, heck yeah, it is. Heck yeah,
but then for me, when they start singing, it kind of dies down a little bit.
But man, you get to that guitar solo. My band, we do that song.
That's true.
That guitar solo brings it back in, man, dude.
That's dope. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's just a classic song too.
Right.
You got to go somewhere.
So come at me, chat.
I'll come at you. I'll come at you with that one. That's a hot take because I just think that's a great song, like all around. Like I think it's a great intro to that song.
But I think the intro is what makes it legendary.
That's the next show, Music Wars, where we debate songs like that. Like actually, Nerdy, write that down. We'll have to get a couple of our music friends together and do that. But yeah, so then we have the moment. I mean, basically Yoda saves Obi-Wan and Anakin there at the end, and they all kind of limp home. and Count Dooku goes back to Sidious, you know, and
I have a very fond memory of that scene. So back in the day, it was before the sequels came out. I think it was maybe like within the year of 2015. And I have this friend, not the brightest kid, I'll say that. I wanted to show him the Star Wars movies because he knows how much they mean to me. So he's like, I'll watch them with you. So we watched the originals. We went in release order. We watched the originals, watched Phantom Menace, we want Attack of the Clones. And we always like to ask him stupid questions because he usually gives a stupid answer, but he's like serious. Oh, God. I've never understood how someone could be so naive while watching a movie. So it's the ending scene, right? Where Dooku and Sidious are together, right? You know, it's pretty much Palpatine. Like, if anyone who's somewhat watching the movie is paying attention, it's clearly Palpatine. So I asked him. His name was Quinn. I said, hey, Quinn, who do you think is under that hood? And he looks at me with a straight face, and he, like, smiles, and he says, Han Solo.
What?
And I'm like, what? And then we proceeded
He's got to be trolling you.
He was not. He was serious. I was just like, what? And we beat him up. Not really. Like, because we were watching with my brother. We jokingly just like
they assaulted him.
I don't know. He might have been joking, but I'll never forget that because it was just hilarious. And he like the look he gave me.
We actually have actual footage of Goldman taking down his friend here right now.
Vengeance.
They gave me a good laugh. It's the second time I've ever been angry at someone watching Star Wars the first time. And the first one I explained last time was I was on a date and we watched New Hope. Oh yeah. And I asked her. She asked me, who did Luke fight for? The Rebels or the Empire? Those are the only two times. That one, at least I know she was 100% serious. My friend, maybe not, but still, I'll never forget that.
There was a girl when the re-release of Empire came out, I took this girl on a date and I really liked her at the time. We were having a great time. She was totally into Star Wars. She also played guitar. So like she actually taught me a song from a band that I loved. And like we were having this great time and we go to see Empire. And at the moment where Vader reveals, you know, that he's Luke's father, she looks at me, she goes, is that true?
Oh boy.
And I went, you're kidding, right? And she's like, no, she's like, is that true? And I said, you've seen this before, right? And she's like, well, no, not really. I've never seen this one. And I'm just like, yeah, but like, you know, the whole, like, you know, I am your father thing. Right. And she's like, no.
She must have knocked out a lot of pop culture references.
Like, wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, we'll see where this goes. Wow. And it obviously didn't go anywhere. But no, it is interesting how some people can watch Star Wars or watch the prequels, like you said. And it's like, there were people who were actually surprised that it was Palpatine in the end.
That's so odd.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. It's crazy. It really is crazy. Ambassadorial wing, it worked just fine. You let it go. You let it go. You're the one who needs to let it go. I was the one who saw Goldman's reaction, and his reaction was golden. That's all I'll say about that.
That did give me a good laugh. That gave me a good laugh.
Yeah.
Exactly. What's up, Anthony? What's good, brother?
What's up, man?
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. But yeah, so yeah, and it was Palpatine at the very end. Good. Comes in. Geonosis Fett comes in at the last second with, you know, some information that we didn't know. So the movie kind of just concludes, you know, from there. Everybody's, you know, with the formation of the clones doing, and it's very animated. That one scene where it shows the one clone trooper right up front and you see all the ships taking off in the background. Very much just looks like something, honestly, if you watch the Clone Wars or something like that, you know, it's
almost indistinguishable.
Yeah. And then, you know, you see the formation basically of this army, the Grand Army of the Republic. At the same time, Anakin and Padme steal away again to Naboo. Mm-hmm. You know, during the time that all this is happening, I guess. And it is kind of weird that he has that weird hand, and she's holding that. That's
why not hold the real hand? I guess they're doing both, but like for like wedding, I guess, but it's just kind of weird.
His hand always looked weird. Luke got like the skin prosthetic on, looks much real. Then with Anakin, I don't know, it's like really skeleton-y.
Yeah.
Like, at least in Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars, he's got the famous like black glove with the wraps around. It looks much better.
Design.
Oh yeah,
I love it a lot. And then, but just like without it, it looked. I don't know, the design, like how skeleton-y it looked. It was just really weird.
Yeah,
to be fair, Anakin did get his, I guess, robot hand years before Luke did. So I mean,
That's
I
true.
guess you could have that argument, but like, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get you. It's a interesting ending. It definitely ends on. It's not really a cliffhanger. It's just kind of like with a lot of those things. It's just kind of like, okay, this episode's done. Wait for the next episode, right? Actually, Zeverfed actually has a good point here. It looks like a Terminator arm.
Yes.
It does. Yeah, golden Terminator arm.
Yep.
That is true.
So that's the movie, and I'll be honest with you. Well, one part that we didn't talk about that I really enjoyed was actually the chase between Obi-Wan and Jango Fett through the asteroids.
Oh yeah.
Some of the best sound design with the what I call the dubstep grenade.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We need to clip that. That's amazing.
It's a terrible impression of one. I have a really good friend who can like straight up do like the beat drop, like with his mouth.
I don't want to try it.
But no, I'll be honest with you. The first time I saw that in the theater and that happened, I thought something went wrong because it gets absolutely quiet. All of the sound is gone.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's just that, and it's like super loud in your ear, kind of like, what the heck is that? But it's a lot of callbacks in this movie to The Empire Strikes Back.
The asteroids.
The asteroids.
Yeah.
Him planting, Obi-Wan planting his ship on the backside of that asteroid.
Right.
Kind of just like, Boba Fett does years later on the back, or actually Han does on the back of the Star Destroyer, I should say. So yeah, a lot of callbacks that I think George really tried to make this The Empire Strikes Back of
the Republic.
Of the
prequels.
The prequels. I mean, Anakin loses his hand just like Luke loses his hand, like
the romance.
Yeah. I just think they to me they just tried too much and they put too much on Anakin.
Yeah.
Because all the focus is on Anakin.
Which,
I actually kind of like that.
Because it's his story, but like, yeah, but I see your point.
Because at least for me, at least in the original trilogy, in The Empire Strikes Back, you have the love story between Leia and Han, so it gives Han a purpose in the story, right? Han's doing things in the story outside of. I also love too that they separate everybody, so everybody has things that they have to do. It seems like they put everything on Anakin. Like Anakin's part of the love story, Anakin's part of the main story, trying to save everybody. Obi-Wan, like you said, like once Obi-Wan gets cut down, man, like what does Obi-Wan do to the end of the film?
Just hanging out. Just hanging out.
Yeah.
Nice look at the Jedi Council room during a sunset.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's his last scene. Like, oh wait, hey, where's Anakin? Oh, he's getting married.
Right.
He's on Naboo, like hanging out. Him and Cad Bane are just having a picnic together. Probably getting married. I don't know. You're a terrible master.
Now, Barcelona B says that she normally skips this movie during a marathon. And I know a lot of people do, but I don't think that that's a good idea. What do you guys? I mean, in summing this up, like where do you put this movie?
Well, I mean, you definitely can't skip it. I mean, even though a lot of people like The Phantom Menace more, The Phantom Menace is more skippable, but still, you shouldn't skip it. I still don't think you should skip any of the movies ever. Like, again, just because I might not like it, just because you may not like it, just because most people may not like it, everyone deserves to make their own opinion on the movie. That's why whenever I'm watching a movie I don't like with someone, I try not to express why I don't like it, because it's their first time, and that I want them to like it, but I don't want to, because if I keep on saying like, oh, this scene really sucks, I'll just look at that. It ruins the experience.
Yeah.
So I still think if every time I show someone Star Wars for the first time, I'll show them every prequel, and I'll try it, and I'll hope they love it as much as I love some of the other movies. But for me, when it comes to all all the movies in terms of like a ranking, I actually much rather watch this movie than Phantom Menace, Solo, or Rogue One. Not saying those movies, not saying Attack of the Clones is better. It's just if I have to sit down and watch it, I think I would have a little more fun with this movie than Rogue One or Solo. Definitely much more than the Phantom Menace. Mostly because of that Tatooine stuff. And when I can appreciate some of the CGI, even though it's not that great now. And I just think how it's a nice introduction to the Clone Wars. So I don't hate this movie like I used to. It's still a very flawed movie, but I like it significantly more than I used to.
Okay.
I like Mark's comment here. He says, "I only skip intro when watching Mando episodes for the 5th time." What about you there, Nerdy? How do you kind of look at this movie as you look back on this?
I look at it the same way Cobalt Cab does in the chat. They say, I think where'd it go?
So I got it, yeah.
Yes, I think the movie has some high highs and low lows. And that pretty much sums it up for me. There's some really good moments in here, really cool moments with lightsabers, like Yoda, pulling out his lightsaber for the first time. Of course, you have like some parts of the Battle of Geonosis, Jango Fett, and some of the action scenes he has. Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Some good highs, but then the lows, of course, of Anakin and Padme, their dialogue and all of that stuff, and some of the CGI that hasn't aged very well. So it's definitely a mixed bag. But as far as like of course, I'll watch it in a marathon because of course it's part of the story. It's like a chapter of a book. It's like you don't really read a book and then skip some chapters if you're reading it for the first time, or like,
sure.
I don't know, even for me if you're reading for the 5th time, because like there's still parts of the story that are essential to know later on.
Yes.
To kind of help you understand and kind of give some building on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like of course you watch Empire Strikes Back without watching episode 2, you're not gonna be necessarily lost per se, but still it's like it's a part of the story. So a bunch of highs and lows for me, but overall I find it to be enjoyable for the most part.
I gotta say, this used to be one of my least favorite movies. It was kind of a tie between this and episode 1 for a long time. And I don't really even know why. There were just things about it that bothered me. I think a lot of it was Hayden's acting, just like you said, the bad dialogue, the cheesy scenes that were in it. And so for those reasons, I didn't like it. Then in 2015, before episode 7 came out, we did a Star Wars day. We watched all the movies, all 6 of the movies that were out at the time, start to finish. And for some reason, when I got to episode 2, I saw episode 2 in a new light that I had never seen it before. And I started catching parts that I didn't really think about before being as important as they were to the overall saga. Or moments that happen in this movie that lend themselves to things that are going to come much later on. You think about a young Boba Fett, right? It's easy to look at Boba and go, what's up with this kid? He's got poor dialogue and, all this stuff. But when you're just sitting there thinking like, okay, this kid is watching his dad. So now it puts Boba Fett in a different light as you watch him in the original trilogy, say, or even whatever we get to see of him going forward now because of Jango. Right. And then like when you look back on it now with the clones and how all those work, you got this ultimate bad guy in Jango Fett ends up becoming a hero to a lot of people because of the different clones that we get to see, because we're basically looking at Jango over and over again. And yet then many of them become the ultimate villains as they turn their backs on the Jedi, with Order 66. So I just feel that there's a lot more layers there that I don't think that I really gave it credit for back in the past. And it literally took me probably 13 years to really be able to appreciate episode 2. And so for me, that's I look back at it fondly now, and even having watched it, 2.5 times, like I said, in the last week and a half, it's a lot better than I think we give it credit for. Sometimes there's the high highs, there's the low lows, but I do think that it's an important episode in the story. And so, so I definitely wouldn't pass it up for sure. I love this. Master Nunn says, I'm going to watch it tonight. And I think that's really the point that we really want to bring up with a lot of these discussions is watch the movie. Right. Watch it. Maybe, listen to our conversation. We've had a conversation with you guys here in the chat. We've talked about these things. Now go back and watch this film and see if it maybe changes your perception about some things, right? Maybe you can laugh at some things now that maybe before ticked you off about, I didn't like this part of it, but now you're looking at, you know what? It's okay. I would like to get a number though from you guys. Dawson, what would you give this, like 1 through 10?
I think I would give it maybe a 6 out of 10, maybe 5 or 6, something like that, just because of like the hit or miss parts. But there we go. Yeah,
there you go. How about you, Goldman?
I'm a little more harsh. I'd probably give it a 4. At best, on a best day, I'd say a 5.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna go exactly where you went, Dawson. I would say about a 6. To me, it's just over that hump, of being on the bad side. It's still bad, but it's almost like it's so good it's bad, or so bad it's good. I don't know, one of those things. So yeah, so I appreciate this movie, and I'm glad that we were able to have this discussion about it. And like that's what this I love this discussion time, because like I learned something new tonight even. Right? Like, I mean, for years, honestly, I have thought that was the moment that I guess maybe I just didn't see that episode of Clone Wars or something, because it's totally eluding me. What's that?
It was an unfinished episode.
Oh, okay.
So it might not really be canon, but I'm pretty sure
okay.
But it was supposed to be canon at some point. So I guess that it's kind of like pseudo canon. Like that's kind of how he got the dent. Because I forgot. I think Cad Bane like shoots Boba Fett in the helmet, and that's where the dent comes from. I think.
Oh,
okay.
So you're telling me that I may still be right.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah.
My cred's still intact.
I'll give it to you. How about that?
I'm just messing with you. Oh man, but hey guys, thanks so much for joining me tonight. Thank you guys for taking the time.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you guys for having the time to talk about this movie and discuss it. And like I said, I hope that those of you watching that you just remember, it's Star Wars. No matter what, I've had even discussion with people this last couple of weeks, guys, and there's people who are like, oh, like that's not Star Wars. This isn't Star Wars. They talk about the sequels or they talk about this, and it's always like that's not Star Wars. It's Star Wars, right? You got to take the bad along with the good. You can't just omit parts of it and think that it's a complete story, right?
Right.
I mean, with any story, there's going to be good and bad. And once you start getting into like this many movies, a franchise, not everyone's going to hit with everybody. Right. But that's the beauty of Star Wars. And we've all said this time and time again. And Goldman, you've put it in such great language in some of your videos and some of the things I've heard you talk about, is that every episode or every cartoon or everything that's got the label of Star Wars on it is not necessarily for me. It's not necessarily for you. The love of man, look, everything is somebody's favorite. So there you go. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I'm paraphrasing. I mean, is that's pretty much where you're coming from?
You honestly, you were bugging out quite a bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course.
Basically, it was like going on your thing about like how every Star Wars is someone else's favorite.
Yes. Yeah. Especially that. So yeah.
No. Sorry about that. I hope I'm okay now.
Yes.
To close this out, but yeah, that's where I was going. Is every Star Wars something is somebody's favorite. So just like what you like, and let other people like what they like.
Absolutely.
And when at the end of the day, we'll be okay. And I look forward to seeing what Star Wars has in store for us next. And I look forward to our next conversation where we talk about a lot of people's favorite. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. A lot of stuff happens in that movie. And so I invite you all to keep an eye out for when we come back with another Let's Talk Star Wars episode 3. Until next time, guys, remember, well, first of all, Goldman, tell them where they can find you.
So my YouTube channel is The Goldman. I make a lot of, I guess, positive oriented Star Wars content. So you can find me, at the Goldman. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm available at the Goldman25, and that's really the extent of my social media presence. But thank you.
Absolutely. Dawson, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Nerdy in Many Ways, right here. Also on Instagram and Twitter at NIMW32. That's at Nimwa32. And you can also find me on Vero at Dawson Weidrich. And I just posted a video just now detailing my process of how I design Funko Pops digitally, like I have been for the past couple weeks. So you go check out my process on my channel right now.
I dig that, dude. I dig that.
It's super cool. I'll get you one of these days. I'll get you one and make it Randy Savagified. So there you go.
Ooh, that's even more interesting. Ooh,
so
yeah. Ooh,
so go check that out. It's gonna be fun.
Absolutely. And hey, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. Like I always say, don't let anybody tell you that your fandom doesn't matter, that their fandom is better than yours, or that yours is better than anybody else's. We all have opinions. We all have ideas and thoughts on pop culture and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, just be respectful of others, right? Let them like what they like. You like what you like. And as long as you're respectful of others, there will always be a place for all of you here in the Poindexter Lounge. Until next time, stay nerdy and may the Force be with you. Watch out for those clones. There's something a little off about them. They might have to keep an eye on them. All right, guys. See you next time.